right, so we are full swing into the NBA playoffs, and the NBA also recently dropped their 2025 award finalists. And today I'm just going to be talking about each award, who I think deserves to win that award, and who I think is ultimately going to end up getting that award. We have the three finalists for basically every major award this year, also including Coach of the Year. I may give my shout out to Executive of the Year as well. So you can see it on the screen here if you're watching on YouTube, but hey, don't worry if you're on audio, I will be just explaining it pretty well. So we'll just go from basically the order that they have it in this tweet. So we're actually going to find out, I think the day I'm recording this, that you guys will be seeing this, Tuesday the 22nd, we'll find out who's going to win Sixth Man of the Year between Malik Beasley, Ty Jerome, and Peyton Pritchard. And I think all three of those players really deserve consideration for that award. So we'll start off, though, in the top left with my Clutch Player of the Year. Comes down between Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, and Nikola Jokic. And I was honestly shocked that LeBron wasn't a finalist over, I don't know, I was thinking about like Jokic or Ant. I think Jalen Brunson definitely deserved to be in this consideration. I mean, clutch could be a bunch of different factors going into this. I'm just having up like total clutch numbers this year, as Anthony Edwards had 42 potential clutch game numbers, and he went 19 and 23 in those games. 157 points, 42% from the field, 32% from three. Jalen Brunson was pretty efficient inside the three-point arc from the field, 17 and 11 in 14 less games. I mean, Trey was really good. I think he could have deserved some consideration, but the shooting splits weren't the best in clutch games, and neither was the record, even though he was a catalyst for a lot. Jokic does have really good numbers in the clutch. Like, I won't disagree with that. 19 and 14, 56% from the field, 42% from three. I thought LeBron, like, maybe should have been in consideration here. Like, the efficiency was really good, a really good record at 22 and 12. But besides the point, we have Ant, Brunson, and Jokic. And I think I'm going to give this award to Jalen Brunson. I thought it was going to be interesting if Brunson was going to end up getting this award because he ended up finishing with 65 games on the dot, and he is going to play enough where he's going to be eligible to win this award. I think when you just take into account total points in the clutch, and we can even sort this per game, where he, I mean, for guys who qualify, he's number one by a decent margin. He's at 5.6, and then you have Maxey at 4.9, Jokic at 4.2, and then Trae Young at 4 as well. So he's by far, I think, the most reliable clutch guy here out of the three between him and Jokic. I mean, out of these three, Brunson is probably the worst overall player. But I think when you take into account this Clutch Player of the Year, which I don't love this award. I'd rather the NBA add like Role Player of the Year, or they added in Perimeter Defender of the Year. Something like that I think would have been really cool, rather than Clutch Player of the Year. Maybe even Biggest Breakout Player as well. Like, we'll get to Most Improved. I don't think Cade Cunningham should be a finalist for that award because he was the number one pick. Make it Biggest, like, I don't know, Lead Player. I don't know, something like that, like Stardom League Player Award. I'd rather have that than Clutch Player of the Year, which I don't think is going to really have that much prestige over the course of the award's history. I think Ant, I wasn't, I don't know. I think this year throughout the regular season, he wasn't the clutchest player out of these three that I would just kind of trust with the ball in his hands. I think he had a couple of times to get game winners or game tires, and hey, sometimes it doesn't go in, but you're going to have more opportunities. It's not easy to get a game-winning shot every single time out there, but he did have that incredible three at the end of the regular season against Philadelphia. But, like, does that clutch shot mean more than a different clutch shot if it's a good player against a good team, just because it's a much inferior team that they're playing against? I think this is the toughest award to pretty much give out just because it's really what you value. Like, Fox has won this award. I forget if Curry or DeRozan have gone these in the past. I think they've been at least in consideration every single year, but I will give this to Jalen Brunson because I do think he's probably got the best numbers out of these. And I do think the Knicks relied on Brunson so much this year in the clutch. That may be the downfall and the demise of the Knicks as we're seeing kind of unfold in the playoffs throughout the first two games. I mean, Brunson has not helped out his reputation, and I think I'm pretty fair with Brunson's criticism. I mean, he's been arguably the best Knick I've ever watched, so I'm always going to appreciate what he's done for New York. But I do think at times he relies too much on foul baiting, and I don't know why, like, we've gotten to this point, because it's really become more of a factor in his game over the course of the 3 years now as a Knick, because we didn't really get this in the first two playoff series, a little bit against Philadelphia last year, but I think at times, and I hate when every player complains to the refs after every possession, and Brunson and like Josh Hart, they're big catalysts for that, and Cat as well, and hey, Mikal Bridges and OG don't really complain that much, so I'll give them some props. So I'll give into some playoff discussions in later episodes this week, but I wanted to give these out before the NBA announces them. So yeah, Brunson, my Clutch Player of the Year. Now let's go over to Defensive Player of the Year, which this one is, oh man, it's tough. So all year this was going to be Wemby's award, and then Wemby does not hit the 65 game threshold because of the blood clot. So this now made it very difficult for people to hand out this award. I think Triple J had some consideration throughout the first half, and then his defense kind of tapered off through the second half of the year, at least to the standard of winning this award. He could still end up on an all-defensive team. The three finalists were Dyson Daniels of the Atlanta Hawks, Draymond Green, and Evan Mobley. Now, Draymond Green really made a late push for this award because he wasn't like begging for the award, but he was coming out on podcasts and shows and basically saying that I'm the depoy. I should win this award. And Draymond Green was an incredible defender. If you look at any metrics out there, either it's RPM, either EPM, if you're looking just kind of at a stocks totals, or it's more so I think when you're watching Draymond and his switchability, how smart he is as a defender. He may be the smartest defender in the NBA, knowing when to switch, knowing where the mismatches are on the floor and how to adjust to those and how to recover. And he could just call out so many different things. It can really make guys around him better defensively. And I do appreciate what Draymond has been as a defender since he's been drafted back in 2012 out of Michigan State. I think Dyson Daniels, I mean, he's been absolutely incredible this year as an elite perimeter defender. We got Marcus Smart winning that Depoy Award back in 2022. Hasn't really aged the best as, was that in 2022 or 2023? I think that was 22, correct? That was 2022. Hasn't really aged the best because that was like the last elite Marcus Smart defense player of the year caliber season. But I think like anytime a perimeter player can win that, I'm all for it. Like Gary Payton ran with that award in the 90s. And then you have Evan Mobley, who I think I'm going to get. It's so tough, man. It's so tough because I think Evan Mobley was the second best defender this year overall after Wemby. And then as the Cavs kind of didn't really need to try as much over the second half of the year, I do think Mobley's defense wasn't as effective as it was when they were going for that 60th win throughout that journey and that path this year. And then when they didn't really have a lot to play for to end the year, I mean, that may be like the recency thing that's in voters' eyes, and they don't opt to give Mobley that award. I'm surprised Zubats didn't make this as well, but like, who do you bump off this? And I think it becomes like what you value the most because Dyson, oh man, like his numbers were so good. And I think when you look at Dyson and you look at Cason Wallace and Lou Jordan, Amen Thompson, these incredible perimeter defenders this year, all in a case of being in that top three spot. And it really made this a very difficult like award to pick from just because this was easily Wemby. And now that he didn't hit the 65 game threshold, I think Draymond was probably the best second half defender. But with all things considered, I'm going to give this award to Evan Mobley. I think Evan Mobley was the catalyst for one of the best defenses all year long. If there was a team defensive award, that would clearly go to the OKC Thunder. But I don't know, like if Chet was fully healthy throughout the year, he could maybe end up getting this award. I think voters and like us NBA fans tend to resonate with a big rather than a perimeter player. The fact that Dyson Daniels is in this conversation that is a top three finalist for basically being like a lottery ticket asset in the DeJounte Murray trade. Like who knew where his direction of his development was going to go this year, first year in Atlanta. And it was incredible. It was as good as you could ask for. I think it's going to end up going Mobley, Draymond, Dyson. That's what I would end up thinking that's going to happen. I would not be totally surprised, though, if Draymond ends up getting this award. Like, I think I'm more confident in Brunson getting clutch player of the year than Mobley getting defensive player of the year. But I'm going to go with Mobley to win Depoy. That's what I would do. That's what I think is going to happen. But we'll see if Draymond was able to make that late push to really resonate with the voters. We'll see if they kind of like or dislike Draymond. So that leads us to most improved player, where we have Cade Cunningham, Dyson Daniels, and Ivica Zubats. I'll flat out say that Cade Cunningham should not be in here. I think Ty Jerome should be in this conversation. Christian Brown, you can even put in here. I'm glad that Zubats is in here. You could put Peyton Pritchard in here as well. Malik Beasley, Norman Powell didn't hit the game threshold, but he could have been in here. I think there's 10 other guys that should have been in this conversation above Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham took a step this year, but I don't think anybody like selected in the top three, let alone the number one overall pick, should ever win this award unless they were barely a rotational player out of the league or maybe just took a leap for in year 8, right? Like I think a number one overall pick in the past could win this award in year 8, not when they're in year 4, not when they're still on their rookie contract where we expect a one-year development. And last year, Cade was great. He really was. And this year, Cade was even better, and he just put up 30 points against the Knicks in a playoff series and has led them to the playoffs. But I don't think he's been like the most improved player. We're really still trying to figure out what this award is. I like it more so with Ty Jerome, like a guy that played 2 games last year that couldn't crack an NBA rotation, and he's now maybe the 4th, 5th most important player on a 60-win team this year. That's what I think a most improved player is, and I think Jerome should be in here. I think Zubats has been incredible this year, taking leaps on both ends of the floor. And I would be shocked if he's not on all defensive first team. I think he deserves one of those final spots. And I also wouldn't be shocked if he's on all NBA third team, although there's more competition there. And I think if there is a Clipper, it's going to be Draymond. But Zubac has been an elite rim protector this year for this team. And I think could have had a case to being a defensive player of the year. I think Draymond's second half and Daniels being at least that elite passing lane threat and steal guy this year earn him those honors. But I think Zubac definitely deserves to be in this conversation, and I'd be okay with him getting that award. But I do think it's going to be Dyson Daniels winning this award. It's been kind of going to year three guys in the past. We've seen that be a trend with this award. And Dyson Daniels went from being a good defensive player off the bench, but still extremely raw and timid and like just not aggressive offensive player that had so many things to work out, both as a shot and rim finishing and playmaking and passing. And he took all those leaps this year in a new environment. 22 years old, was an elite offensive player. No, excuse me, was an elite defensive player and a productive offensive player. Like 49% from the field. I mean, the 3-point shot was a little inconsistent at times, but I thought his decision making was really impressive this year for somebody that was in a new environment, that was playing adjacent to one of the more lethal initiators, passers, playmakers in this game in Trae Young. But I think when Trae Young was off the floor, especially throughout the course of the year, in the development we saw in Daniels be more aggressive and have that confidence, which I think is huge. Like the shot clock is winding down, or you need to call a ball screen with your top guy on the bench, and you can make that extra pass, or you could look to attack the rim and actually finish. And I think Daniels did all that this year, and let alone the defensive jump with a larger sample size and guarding other teams' best perimeter players. I think this award should go to Dyson Daniels. I know he was a top 10 pick, but I think there's a little bit of a difference between Daniels at number 8 and Trae Young at number 1. I'm also okay if Zubac got it. I just don't think Cade Cunningham should win this award. Zubac really took, I think, steps on both ends of the floor. It was his healthiest season. He was an elite defensive player. He was a really productive offensive player. I'm perfectly fine if Zubac gets it. It's pretty much like a 1A, 1B thing for me. I just don't think Cade deserves this award for this. I mean, Cade is in a whole different ballpark tier of players than Daniels and Zubac is. Cade, you can make an argument, is an All-NBA first-team guy this year. Definitely an All-NBA second-team guy this year. I just expected this from Cade. Like I kind of expected last year's season from Maxey, and I thought Kobe White deserved it more. So now let's go on to NBA MVP. This has been a topic all year long. I mean, I'm going to give him his respect. He's not going to win the award, nor do I think he should, but Giannis Antetokounmpo, man, another third-team finish. This is going to be three finishes in 4 years, and he's going to have 5 straight, well, technically 7 straight top 5 finishes. He's going to have 5 straight top 4 finishes and 0 MVPs out of those. But Giannis, I mean, 30 points. He knocked out 18 2-point, or he shot 18 2-point attempts this year, 11 2-point makes. He averaged 30 points, 6.5 assists, 12 rebounds, was like one of the best mid-range shooters in this league as well. Not a good free throw shooter, not a good 3-point shooter. I still think is a really good defender, but he's not going to win MVP. The Bucks record wasn't the best this year either for somebody that could win MVP. They ended up going 48-34. I mean, only 2 games better, but the other candidate here is Nikola Jokic. I don't really, it's so tough, man. It really is. I've been a big proponent, so I want to be consistent of like best player, best team should win the award if they have the numbers to back it. So like, I think there would be a case here where Donovan Mitchell shouldn't be the MVP because of the numbers, but he has been the best player on arguably the best team this year. Jokic though this year, I mean, I think MVP or his triple double is so different from some of Russ's in the past where you can compare those 2 seasons. I mean, Jokic put up basically 30 points, 12.5 rebounds, 10 assists, 57% from the field, 42% from 3, 80% from the line on a 50-win team. I mean, that's just incredible numbers for a 6'11 center. I know the defense isn't great and that should dock him, and I'm okay with that. But if he gets his name called and wins the MVP, I'm not going to care that much. I really am not. Maybe it's because I'm not a Nuggets fan or I'm not a Thunder fan and I don't dislike any of these guys where I'm okay with it. Like I'm sure Thunder fans would be pissed if they hear Jokic's name called for the MVP award, but I'm honestly okay with it. I think this could be one of the best like non-MVP seasons of all time. He didn't win MVP in 2023, and this season blows that away. But it's because Shea had one of the best guard seasons of the 21st century. You can compare this season with like 2016 Steph, one of Prime Jordan's numbers or seasons, and this team ended up winning 68 games. You know how hard it is to win 68 games? And his defense is still solid. I know he gets bailed out a little bit with some absolute elite defenders around him, like Caruso, Dort, Kaysen, etc. But Shea averaged 32 points, 5 rebounds, 6.5 assists, 52% from the field, 37 from three, 89% from the free throw line. And yeah, you could say Shea foul baits at times. I don't think it's nearly as bad as some guys we've seen in the past, like Prime Harden, Prime Trae Young, or even right now with Jalen Brunson. And yeah, I know it's impressive to get to the line 8 times a night or 9 times a night for a guard, but I don't think Shea's a foul hunter. I don't think he's a flopper. I don't. I think that some of that's blown out of proportion. Are there some bad calls for him in his way? Yeah, but he gets a star whistle. I think something Steph has wanted his whole career, but has never really gotten. But an elite scoring season, above average defense, really good playmaking, was a productive shooter this year, 37% from three, which has been kind of a really impressive season for him, maybe the best shooting season of his career. But when you take into account the volume, the efficiency, the impact on the best team in the NBA, I think Shea's going to win this award. Man, it's tough. I don't really know who I would give it to. Like, I don't have a vote, obviously. I'd probably give it to Shea. If it's tough, because of it's just a 18 game difference in the win aspect, which is a lot. And Shea has the numbers. Like, Jokic has better numbers, but it's just 18 games different. And the Thunder clearly have a better team, but I don't think it's crazy different. Like, it's not like we're talking about, he doesn't have 2018 Warriors help. He has some really good role players. He has an incredible number 2 in Jalen Williams on his team. But the Denver Nuggets team isn't the numbers, yeah, when Jokic is off the floor, are incredible. But, it's still a good team. The Nuggets have a good team and could easily go to 7 against the Thunder in round 2. I'm not discrediting them. I'm going to go, Shea gets the MVP award, but it's also a very tough one because if Shea doesn't win, he's going to have one of the greatest non-MVP seasons ever, and then same thing with Jokic. Rookie of the year is a little bit easier. All respect to Jalen Wells this year. Incredibly impressive as a rookie. I don't think he's going to end up winning the award, but for the 39th pick, gave the Grizzlies some amazing moments this year. I think I'm fine with him being the third guy here. I think Sarr maybe could have had a better second half, or Buzelis at times, and McCain would have been here if he didn't get hurt. But I think throughout a consistent 82-game season, Wells was up there and was also doing this for a good team in the Western Conference. Low-key, I think this one should be closer than it is. I think it's going to be Stephon Castle, and I'd probably give it to Stephon Castle, but I think Reese Shea deserves more credit this year for what he's done. I think in the second half of the year was incredible as a scorer, as a defender, somebody that I think is going to be an elite shooter for this team. And I was really shocked that they fired Landry Fields recently. I know he hasn't made some great moves. The DeJounte Murray trade hurts, but I thought they've done a nice job. I didn't love the deadline. I think they traded DeAndre Hunter too soon. I would have waited till the offseason, and I think you could have gone a little bit better value than just some mid-tier role players and some seconds, because those first rounders aren't going to be much. But I think but yeah, we can get into the Hawks more in later episodes here on the pod. I talked about a ton about their 2026 outlook in an episode last week. For the Spurs, though, and Castle, I think he was an incredibly impactful defender. I think he was incredibly confident in attacking the rim. There were some bad shooting nights for sure. There were some good shooting nights, though, for Castle, and I do think he's going to end up winning the award, and deservingly so. I just think Reese Shea should make it a little bit close. I don't think it should be unanimous by any means. I think Reese Shea deserved more respect throughout the year, and I think he could have a better career than Castle for sure. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Castle looks with another top 10 pick, maybe 2 lottery picks. You're going to have 2 lottery picks, Atlanta's and theirs. And then you're going to also have, with Wemby coming back and Fox being fully acclimated here, and how's Vassell and Sohan and all these guys, what are the touches going to look like for Castle next year? Can he take developments as a shooter and as a complementary piece? Because I wouldn't be shocked. I don't think he's going to average more points next year than he did this year. I'd be a little bit shocked with Wemby and a full season sample size of Fox there. But if he could just be a better shooter, average similar scoring, and just be as good of a defender and passer, I think that's exactly what San Antonio needs. Sixth man of the year, I think, should also be a tough one. I think Malik Beasley is probably going to finish third here, which is okay. He was incredible this year. He could have had some most improved player conversations for being an afterthought in Milwaukee, basically playing for $6 million this year. $6 million, 1 year, $6 million deal. Milwaukee didn't really want him, and was a lights out shooter for Detroit this year. And it's been a big reason why their vibes, their environment has been better, and has been playing hard every single night and wants to win. And I think it's been a very good veteran in that Pistons locker room. Ty Jerome, I think, I would have voted for him for most improved. I really would. I think that's what this award could be. Like I said, was like the fourth or fifth most impactful player on a 60-win team. Was incredibly efficient. Had 28 points against Miami in game one. Can just be an elite backup guard for Garland or Mitchell and can really keep the game close when those guys are off the floor. And that was so valuable to them this year. And his numbers would look a lot better if he wasn't averaging under 20 minutes a night. But Peyton Pritchard obviously took a step with an increase in shots, increase in playing time. With injuries this year to like Jaylen Brown and Drew Holiday. Derek White was banged up earlier in the year, and Pritchard really took advantage. Played 28 minutes a night, 14 points, 3.5 assists, 4 rebounds, but shot 40% from 3. So he played about 10 more minutes a night than Ty Jerome, averaged about 2 more points per game. So I think it should be very close. Like I said, I'd probably put Beasley number 3 in the voting. I'd probably end up giving it to Pritchard over Jerome as like a 6 man of the year type thing, just because I think Pritchard, like, there was that game where I forget who was exactly out, but like he went for 40 with Derek White. And I think it's tough. I think one of these guys will get snubbed. But based off my prediction, I do think Pritchard's going to get that award. And then lastly, for coach of the year, Kenny Atkinson for the Cavs, first year coaching there. JB Bickerstaff for the Pistons, first year coaching there. And Ime Udoka of the Rockets, second year coaching there. So basically, like, we can briefly talk about Ime Udoka, who, I mean, the vibes of this team, like 52 wins this year. They won, 41 last year, 22 games the year before he ended up getting this job. Completely turns around this team. He was dealt a talented roster, and it helps that they drafted Amen Thompson, and they signed guys like Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks, guys that Steven Silas didn't have, but Silas had minimal improvement over the course of these seasons. I mean, the 2021 team was horrendous. 2022, you had Shane Good and Green on the roster, but still filling it out, and then 2023, you had Eason and Jabari Smith, who I think development has been a little bit of an afterthought for this team, but Udoka has really turned this team around, even if they're a first-round exit to Golden State. An incredible year, and I think they still have a very bright future in this league. So I think this award's going to go to Atkinson for sure. But I mean, Bickerstaff, I don't think is an elite coach by any means. And you could also put this on the front office, adding the right pieces around Cade Cunningham, and Ivy's been hurt, and they still won 44 games. They're tied 1-1 with the Knicks right now, going back to Detroit. And my God, if they win a playoff series, like, this is an incredible year, one of the best years since they won that title back in 2004 for sure, because of the future they have. Way more exciting than that 2019 team. And I think Bickerstaff has been like the guy that wants these guys to play hard every single night. He's going to ride and die for these guys, no matter what happens on the floor, and embraces that physical mindset that maybe they just needed, and to have that confidence and that feeling that they belong here. And I think Bickerstaff, I think he's going to finish second, actually, to Ime, even though I think Ime has turned himself into a borderline elite coach for bringing the Celtics to the finals in 2022 and really turning the Rockets around since he got there. But yeah, I do think this award's going to go to Atkinson, who, I mean, if you've been following me or any of my content since he's been fired, 6 years ago or 5 years ago in Brooklyn, which was so shocking because he was the guy that really turned that team around in 2019, bringing that team to the playoffs and above 500 record in their first, like, good year in 5 years, and they had some really bad ones. And it was a team led by D'Angelo Russell, Karis LeVert, Ron Hollis Jefferson, and some of those guys there. Jared Allen, of course, Dinwiddie, and he helped the Cavs really unlock this team this year. Now, you could say this is more so Ty Jerome, Mobley leap, Garland leap at times, and being healthy this year, because Bickerstaff, they had their injuries last year. I mean, Garland was hurt, Mobley was hurt. Mitchell carried that team throughout like the end of the it was like December of 23 and January of 24. But I think he really unlocked his team this year, and unlocking Ty Jerome and having Max Strus into the fold, and Dean Wade's consistent development on the defensive end of the floor, and what Mobley can fully break out this year. I do think last year we could have seen this Mobley, but there was injuries, which I don't think is all on Bickerstaff for sure. So, but just going 16 wins with a very similar roster from last year, and DeAndre Hunter at the deadline, I do think Atkinson's going to win this award, and deservingly so, and should have been a head coach 5 years ago, but really built himself up as a good assistant, I believe, in Golden State, and for the Clippers. So yeah, I do think Atkinson is going to win that award and become this year's Coach of the Year. There's no Executive of the Year award finalist, but I think Trent Redden of the LA Clippers deserves some love for, I mean, they offered Paul George a contract, so they definitely could have had Paul George back, but not giving him that 5th year and replacing him with Derrick Jones Jr., with Chris Dunn and some of those guys, and also getting like Ben Simmons throughout the year, and like this team playing in a very competitive, like, elite start against the Nuggets. I think Trent Redden of the Clippers deserves a great job, or props there. You can give some love to Trent Langdon, who inherited a ton of the Troy Weaver roster in Detroit, but adding guys like Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Tobias Harris, drafting Ron Holland for this team, I think has really turned their season around. Trading for Dennis Schroeder. I think Kobe Altman, I mean, not really making too many moves in Cleveland, but I think could also deserve some love. Sam Presti, obviously, I think would probably win that award. Adding Caruso, adding Hardenstein, the team winning 68 games, which is up from, I mean, they were the 1 seed last year. They won 57 last year, so 9-win improvement this year. And I think like drafting AJ Mitchell, who looked great this year for them before that injury. So yeah, I'd probably go to Sam Presti. I mean, shout out Rob Pelinka for getting Luka, but I don't think was all his doing. I think that was a little bit of luck with Nico Harrison. Funny enough, like Nico could have been in here if they didn't trade away Luka. I'm not giving like love to like not enough to Joe Cronin, but I think like the Denny move, the Klingon draft pick, Tumani Kamara from a year and a half ago, like definitely steps in the right direction for that team. So yeah, I think those are the guys for sure. I don't think like Brad Stevens from the last calendar year. Same with like Pritchard or Leon Rose. I mean, made some big moves, but I don't think is going to get Coach of the Year. So yeah, I'd probably give it to Sam Presti with some props to Trenton Langdon, and then who's the other guy I just said? Was it I forgot who I just said. I don't think Kobe Altman, but yeah, I would just give it to Sam Presti going forward because for what they've done. I mean, even like Joe Connolly in why I feel like that's not his name, but Connolly or Tim Connolly, sorry, in Minnesota. I think he can deserve some respect. I mean, depending on how far they go, but it looks like they didn't take too far of a step back after the cat trade. But yeah, I would definitely give this award to Sam Presti, probably Trent Redden number 2, and the Trenton Langdon number 3. So that is it for me. Hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know what you agree with or disagree with down below, and who do you think is going to win these awards for this upcoming NBA cycle. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.